Hello and assalamu alaikum. One of the common questions today is, if God is all loving, God is all caring, God is all kind, why is there evil and suffering in the world? We will mention 4 different points. Point number 1 is a story of a customer who went to his barber. He went to his barber like he normally does to get his hair trimmed and beard trimmed, and they were having a regular conversation like normal. And eventually they got to the topic of where they were talking about the existence of God. And the barber goes, man, I don't think God exists, Just look in the streets. There's abandoned children, there's people suffering. If God exists, why do all these things happen? And the barber finished his job and the customer just stayed silent. He didn't want to cause any kind of argument. The customer left the shop, and then when he was walking around, he saw one man with really long hair, really long beard, and it was extremely untidy and not very neat. So he thought, made me realize something. I'm going to go back to the barber shop and explain something. So he went back to the barber shop. He told the barber, look, man, I don't think barbers exist, The barber's thinking like, what do you mean barbers don't exist? I'm here, I exist. You see, I saw someone outside on the street and he had really long hair and it was really untidy. So barbers can't exist if people like that are out on the street. The barber said, we do exist, it's just these people don't come to us. And in the exact same way, the person goes, well, yeah, God exists. And the reason why there is so much pain and suffering in the world is people don't come to God. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is life is a test and things only make sense with a belief in the hereafter and Allah. The dunya itself is known as Darul Ibtila wal Bala, the land of tribulation and affliction. It's not meant to be a place of eternal bliss. That's for the hereafter. And you shouldn't judge life based on how things are just for this life. With a belief in the no hereafter, nothing makes sense. With a belief in the hereafter and Allah, everything makes sense. You see, there was a hadith of a person who suffered more than anyone in the history of humanity. More than any single person, he suffered the most. And this person was dipped in paradise just for one brief moment. And then after being dipped out of paradise for that one moment, he was asked, did you suffer at any moment in your life? And the person said no. See, one moment he was dipped in paradise is as if he never felt he ever suffered in his entire life. Point number 3, the creation of the universe and destiny itself is like a beautiful painting. You see, the problem is people, they can't see the full painting and the full picture, so they can't recognize its beauty. What do? They zoom in just to one dark shade in that painting. They only see the dark shade and they say to themselves, this is a dark and ugly painting. In the same way people do this with how the world works. They only focus on the bad and the evil and they think this is a dark, ugly, evil place. There's no way there's an all-loving creator who designed this place. But the problem is they don't zoom out and they can't see the full picture. They can't see the full wisdom. They only zoomed into one area. They don't realize how the dark shades complement all the other shades and create a beautiful and perfect picture. That's point number 3. Point number 4 is, in Islam we have a different understanding of God compared to other religions. We don't simply say that God is just all loving. God is all loving. But we also say God is all wise. He has a plan. God is all powerful. God can reward and God can punish. God can express anger and be just, because he is all just. But ultimately, when you see the full picture, you realize that God's mercy prevails over his anger, that God's mercy supersedes his anger. And a lot of the issues in the world are self-inflicted. They're our own fault. There should not be any world hunger. Did you know if food was distributed fairly, there's enough food in the world for every single person to eat 3,200 calories every single day? And in conclusion, suffering is what makes humanity great. And there's a quote which summarizes this nicely, which explains the cycle in history, how suffering makes humanity great. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. This is how suffering develops humanity to create better times. And even though we gave a very logical and philosophical and intellectual answer, which answers the question, why does God allow suffering? Why is there this problem of evil? You still have to realize that if you see someone in a difficult situation, you have to deal with that person using empathy and emotion. You see, logical problems and logical questions require logical solutions and logical answers. Emotional problems and emotional questions require emotional solutions and emotional answers. Even the Prophet, peace be upon him, who understood all of these things better than anyone, even when his children died, he cried. So we have to realize When a person is going through grief, you let them grieve. But in reality, there is a very logical question as to why there is suffering in the world. I hope you found the video beneficial. Hope to see you in the next video, and assalamu alaikum.